fast and secure blockchain platform which can take care of more than 10,000 transactions per second and do so at a cost 100 times less than Bitcoin or Ethereum, which is pretty awesome. He believes blockchain technology will open an era of unparalleled opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Beniamin Mincu.
Brand Minds presents the Business Summit. Brand Minds Live.
Beniamin Mincu, first of all, let's test. You can hear me, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello there.
Good.
Really great to connect.
And I can hear you. Right. So there'll be a bit of a delay because of the nature of the technology. But I do want to get, first of all, right into this core question of when we look at blockchain, many people watching will be thinking, Ethereum, yes, and Bitcoin, and we've all heard of these things, and we've all seen the price rise up and fall back down again. Why is elrond different? What are you doing with blockchain that is different from this traditional idea of just a cryptocurrency?
For sure. So really excited to have the opportunity to tell you a bit more about blockchain. The idea with blockchains is that for the first time in history, we can digitize value in the same way that we digitize communication with the internet. So what the internet did to communication, we will see the blockchain do to value and especially value transfer. So what we've built with elrond is a way to take the whole blockchain infrastructure to the internet scale level, which means that with blockchains, you can process transactions, any kind of transactions around the world. But the problem you had was the same problem you had with the dial-up internet at first, which is that it's really slow and you cannot do too much on it, build too much on it. So what we've done with elrond is to rethink the blockchain and come with an engineering breakthrough that allows us to process more than 15,000 transactions per second now.
Who is going to be using it? Who is actually on the other side? Who are your customers?
Sure. The idea is that at elrond, we are probably the only company which is not only building the infrastructure, to speak, a highway, but we're also building the cars or the application through which anyone in the world will be able to transfer money with the ease that they send an email. So just as they send an email to someone around the world, and it's a no-brainer that you want to use an email because it's cheap, it's incomparable to normal email, so we'll see value transfer move to the blockchain. And as soon as you'll basically have the option of doing this 100 times cheaper than any other option, that's when you'll see the obvious utility.
Right, but why do, sorry to push this, why do we need blockchain? We're already moving money around the world, and we're doing finance. And I live in the US most of the time, and whether it's Venmo, PayPal, in Britain it's Monzo, you'll be familiar with them all. For the consumer level, the bank transfer is now done on a phone. What is it about blockchain that makes it essential to be moved towards?
The really key opportunity here, and this is especially important in the situation that we're facing right now, is that you can boil down the two most important fundamental economic problems to the following. You first have a systemic problem, and second, have a distribution problem. The systemic problem means that we're currently using an infrastructure technology for our economy, for our financial system, and for our money around the world that is deprecated, that we're still in 100 years behind by using paper money, by transferring this around the world in a very, very inefficient way. And in a way, this steals a lot of time and resources from us. So by moving to this high bandwidth environment, we'll be able to do whatever we do a lot faster, a lot cheaper, and incomparably more efficient at a grand scale. This is one of the things. And the second thing is the distribution problem means that there are 1.7 billion people that still lack basic financial infrastructure. So with this new technology that is digitally native, we can offer essentially an account and financial infrastructure to anyone in the world without having to go through any type of bureaucracy. So we believe this will not only improve our lives if we're already connected to the financial infrastructure, but it will essentially improve the lives of many people that don't have any access to financial infrastructure.
For those who regard blockchain as basically a drug dealer's charter, a money launderer's delight, because of the anonymity that goes with blockchain, the transaction, that the fact of the transaction and the integrity of the actual transaction may be verified by blockchain, but how far are you concerned about the participants, the players within this, and the need to know your customer?
I would underscore the fact that out of all the methods through which people can launder money or do drugs and so forth, the dollar is by far the best means of doing this, just because you cannot track it. There's no way to transparently view everything that's happening at any time. With blockchain, on the other hand, you have this ability to have a verifiable and transparent ledger of everything that's happening in the network. And there are many, many analysis tools already that make sure that it's very, very difficult to do anything that is not, let's say, correct or that goes in the wrong direction. So
except I hear what you're saying, and I understand that, Elrond, to some extent you are sort of one step removed from that, because you are the facilitator to the ultimate provider of the service. I understand that, but you're also an expert. And you also really understand this in a way that few of us will ever even come close to. So when you say the integrity of the ledger is supreme with blockchain, but what about the participants that are putting money into that ledger, those who are doing the transactions? Do we need to be concerned that blockchain is facilitating an anonymity that actually can be undesirable?
No, I actually believe that technology is the tool, and we basically choose how we use the tool. But as we see with the internet, where we really understand, especially nowadays, the value of privacy, there is a way where you basically can very, very well argue that it's important to have some privacy there, to be able to do the transactions and not have any problem. But then at the same time, I do agree that it's important to take some steps. And if we see some wrong things, transactions that are, let's say, suspect, I'm sure there are a number of companies that are already providing all types of analytics services to prevent this.
So back to Elrond and this idea of why you want to do internet scale blockchain. What is it about this that you find most attractive?
The idea here is that we're going back to this two problems that we believe currently prevent and limit economic growth in the most significant way. And in order to properly address this in a very fundamental way and creative way, and to really bring a new era of opportunity and prosperity for humanity, it's not enough to go with the incremental improvements that we can come up with, but rather we need to come up with a solution that is like a high bandwidth, transparent, economic, financial system that allows us to not only exchange value at a global level near instantly, but grants access to anyone, anywhere in the world to this new financial system. This is what we're doing with Elrond, and we're not only building the infrastructure, but we also have an application called Mayar, and of course, there's also a currency called eGold.
Right. So again, for those of us who know that blockchain exists and question, an inch worth of knowledge about this, I want you to paint, we have time, I want you to paint for me a transactional picture that explains the various parties and where you fit into it and what you bring to it.
Do you mean how the blockchain works, or do you mean how the system, an economic or financial system would work, and how blockchain would improve that?
I want to know how somebody who comes to you, what do they ask, what do you do, and the end user, does the consumer even know you exist, or are you the plumbing of the blockchain system that really is always just there making it work? So let's start with, who are your customers?
Sure. So the whole point is that at Elrond, we're doing basically three things. We have three components. There's the Elrond network, or the infrastructure through which anyone can plug in and process transactions at the internet scale with the scalability, a cost, and the speed unparalleled in the world.
So I'm interrupting you here. I'm interrupting you. When you say anyone can plug in, who are the people who are likely to do that?
Technical or startups, technology startups that are trying to use this new value transfer mechanism to build new tools, let's say value exchanges, derivative tools, or simpler remittance companies. All of those, or banks, all of those can just take the technology and integrate it in their infrastructure. This is one of the key things, and especially important is the fact that Elrond is about 1,000 times more scalable than other architectures. But we've moved one step even further, because we learned that to solve the performance problem will be not enough, but we also needed to address the user experience problem. And so for the user experience problem, we've essentially built an intuitive and simple user interface through which anyone in the world will be able to transfer the money via a mobile phone. So wherever they are in the world, they'll be able to use this network and this application without knowing what's the underlying utility to make transfers.
What are they transferring? You know where I'm going with this. What currency are they transferring?
eGold is one way to do this. So eGold is the native currency of Elrond, and the best way to explain or simplify this is that this is a native digital currency, and it's like we had books and then ebooks, we had mail and then email, we had gold, and now we have eGold. This is a digital currency that will work for and allow to preserve value in a more robust way than probably any other currency out there.
All right, but the central banks are worried. The central banks certainly the ECB is extremely concerned, as indeed is the Fed, that these that e-gold, as one of many, e-gold can collectively, cryptocurrencies can present a systemic threat to the monetary system because of the ability in the future to transfer large sums. Do you understand their concern in this regard?
I understand the concern, but I also want to point out one important fact here, namely that if we can collectively improve the system for the entire humanity, whereby we transfer value, use it, and do this in a way that is incomparable to what we did before, then the banks and the Fed and all the other regulators will at some point see the great opportunity here, because unlike other blockchain projects, elrond is compatible with the government, with the different regulators. And in fact, we want to proactively allow the banks or different organizations around the world to take elrond and use it to improve the lives of people around the world.
Right. So many central banks, or the Swiss central bank particularly, is working on its own cryptocurrency. The Bank of England has said it's going to do that. How would you imagine, in a world of multiple cryptocurrencies, or e-value, to be less pejorative, in a world of e-value, how does e-gold gain acceptability over all the others?
The idea is that as we move forward, I believe during the next possibly 5 to 10 years, we'll see all value transfer essentially moving to the blockchain. There's a huge opportunity here that will become very obvious, just as it did with the internet. And so during that phase, the most important thing will be that there exists an infrastructure where these banks or governments will be able to tap in to use and offer to their people, local people, a better way to use and transfer value. And within this system, the key thing to understand is that e-gold is the native digital standard. So e-gold will be the one currency that will allow you to use elrond in any way you like. There are many ways in which you can build on top of elrond, but there's only one way you can use it, and this is through e-gold, because e-gold will be the digital standard.
Is there a danger as we move towards this, that the Wild West scenario, until there is a shakeout, until there is some form of regulation, and I'm not talking, and I think this is specifically in relation to stores of value and value chains, as opposed to smart contracts and the like. But when it comes to value, that there are an increasing number of players, and we really need regulation. And if we do, what sort of regulation to ensure stability?
We need to differentiate between two types of digital assets. There are this type of stable coins that just try to have a digital version of dollar, a digital version of euro, and so forth. And I believe there is a lot of regulation coming for this particular branch of digital assets, just because governments, as you've mentioned before, want to step in, want to test different things. And by far, what we've seen is that almost every government in the world is at this point experimenting with this technology, trying to see not only the downside, but more important, the opportunity here. Every university in the world has already courses explaining and exploring different areas on this technology. Every startup, especially the ambitious startups, either in Silicon Valley or in different parts of the world, are exploring how they could use this technology. So we see a lot of innovation, interestingly enough, not only in the technological part, but also in the economics part and the governance part. So we'll probably see some of the most interesting experiments done in this space. And I believe governments and startups and people from all around the world will probably start to participate very soon, even more as things become very simple, right? With our application, you'll move through from the standpoint where it's not clear how you use a blockchain. It's super rocket sciencey. You somehow understand something, but you cannot use it. You'll go to the point where you just tap in on a simple application, and then you can send money anywhere in the world faster and cheaper.
But the money you send at some point has, whether it's eGold or any of the others, at some point there has to be, never mind just the security of the blockchain or the integrity of the transaction, but
Sure.
there has to be a methodization of getting the money or the value back into fiat currency. You and I can transfer eGolds till our heart's content, but at some point we've got to transfer it back into a currency, or maybe not, that I can then go and buy bricks or corn or oil or whatever I'm transacting.
Sure. The idea is that temporarily you'll have this recurring way of exchanging eGold into a different currency, whether it's digital or just normal analog fiat currency. I do believe that all fiat currency will move to the blockchain as well, by the way, and elrond will be one of the prime infrastructures where they can tap in and move. But more important than that, this is a question of time until people, due to the non-inflationary nature of this economic system, or deflationary nature of this economic system, will start thinking whether it's not better to hold things and then just trade in eGold directly.
Yeah, but that was the whole, I was just looking down at my phone. I'd forgotten the name. But it's come back to me. Of course, Libra from Facebook. Now, arguably, and I'm sure you know a lot about Libra, but Libra, you know, classically scared the horses. I mean, they came out of the gate with this idea of a currency that we were all going to be using, which frightened the bejeebies out of central bankers and their ability to control monetary policy if we're all doing Libra.
Yes, I do think that the problem with them is that they're an elephant in the room, right? Whatever they do, it's scaring everybody away, especially since Facebook does not have the positive aura it used to have at some point. So they're really large. The regulators are in a position where they're scared, and frankly, Facebook is not in the best position to be trusted to execute on this problem without then taking over the world immediately, right? So there are some problems there that and questions that we need to ask. The difference with elrond is that we're not only really focused on innovation, but we're open to having the discussions with regulators, with governments. Of course, all our day is basically focused on discussing with the users, with people from around the world, because this is what we care about. Right. If we can improve the lives of the users, we're sure that the governments and regulators will see this.
So we have just a couple of minutes left. I want to leave it to time for you to just tell me, those users, what sort of real life experience now are you hearing from users as to how they have benefited?
There are several things, but right now, especially in this circumstance where, as you've mentioned before, money is printed all in from all the ends, there needs to be this way where you can store value without having it to be devalued almost every day. We're I think in a situation where we're going to see these consequences, and people need an alternative to that. This is one of the opportunities. Second, people at the end of the day need a way to transfer value, as I've said, just as you using the email or Skype today, or Zoom for that instance. You'll be transferring value, and Elrond and Maiar will be these applications through which you'll be able to transfer value anywhere in the world. And it's not going to be e-gold, but any type of currency. It will be digitized, and you'll be able to do this very, very simply. And more than that, this is just the first starting point. The smart contracts allow for basically infinite programmability. Whatever you think,
Right.
as in financial applications or tools to exchange value, all of this will move to the blockchain, I believe, very, very fast.
Thank you very much. I will not even pretend that I fully understand, but you have today given me a window into it, and I'm better informed. Sir, we'll talk again. We'll talk not only here, but I'm also going to invite you on Quest Means Business for us to talk about these issues as well and things like that. Thank you very much indeed. Back to you, Pet, in the studio. Very interesting. I'm not sure I fully get it, but it's one of those classic cases, Beniamin. I don't really understand, but I do know it's important, and you've helped me understand a great deal more than I did.
Thank you, Richard. Really great to have this conversation. Happy to continue it.
Thank you.
Beniamin and Richard, fantastic listening to you guys talk. It's the fireside chat that turned into a hardcore grilling from Richard Quest. So glad you stood up to the pressure there, Beniamin, and thank you both very much for that. And Richard, thanks for admitting that you don't quite get it, because that makes me feel a lot better about myself right now. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. If I understand it correctly, in the old days we had like a paper ledger, and just one dude had the paper ledger, and just one person had it, and one person wrote in it, and it was stored in one place. Now with blockchain, it's an infinite ledger that everyone can write in all the time, and it's everywhere at the same time. And that sounds less safe to me, not more